What's going on, everybody? Eric here for the Unlockables podcast, and I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer for this episode before you listen to it. During the recording process, we were recording using Craig in my Discord server, and at that time of night, my internet service was pretty spotty, so sometimes Brock's words will cut in and out a little bit. There'll be a little bit of robotic noise. I tried to clean it up as best I could, but just wanted to give you a quick disclaimer as to the reason why that happened. Definitely still listen to this episode. Brock and I had an amazing conversation, and he's got some incredible advice and insight into the voice acting gigs. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this interview. Hey everybody, Eric here for the Unlockables podcast, and before we begin this episode, I just want to give a special shout out to all the people who support the show over on Patreon. These incredible people are Chris from 1 Hour 1 Decision, Stephen Pay, Dave Jackson, Chris Copleen, Rick Firestone, Colby Moyer, Keith Gasper, Nikolai at Night, Mass Keaton, Ashton Ruby, Chris from A Novel Console, and Ryan from Listoff. I am eternally grateful for your guys' continued support for this creative endeavor and can never thank you enough. Now, on to today's episode. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Unlockables podcast, the story of video games, the people who play them, and the memories made along the way. As always, I am your host, Eric. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in, wherever, whenever in time and space you might be located. It means so much to me that you're willing to stop by, check out the show, and see what is going on in the world of video games. Now, enough with all of those niceties, because we've got a really amazing episode lined up for you today. I have an incredible guest waiting in the wings to come on. My guest today is one of my very good friends in the podcasting community, an up-and-coming member of the voice acting community, and a man who you can easily recognize because he carries multiple swords with him wherever he goes. Of course, tonight we are talking with Brock Matthews, voice actor extraordinaire. Brock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Oh man, you weren't lying. You do like to butter up your guest, don't you? Holy shit! But no,
I try my best to give you the going intro.
But yeah, no, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I've actually been really excited to do this because I don't think, if my memory serves me right, I don't think we've ever done anything together. And then once your guys' great host here DM'd me on Discord, I was pretty excited. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I absolutely let's do this thing.
I knew I wanted to get you on at some point because I've mostly kind of just stuck to kind of podcasters and video game content creators, but you do a little bit more than that. Like I mentioned at the top of the episode, you dabble in some, or you're trying to begin and take off your career in the voice acting arena. So I was like, yeah, we've DM'd on Discord, we've talked sports, we've talked games, and we've gotten along real well. So it was only a matter of time, and would have had you on much sooner if life hadn't gotten a little bit hairy there.
No, that's all right.
Months. So appreciate you being accommodating, and this is definitely a long way overdue. So before we dive into the good stuff, where I ask you all the questions about yourself, I normally do a little bit of an icebreaker question. I ask, is there any games that you've been playing lately?
Actually, there is. It's not. Well, I guess there's two actually. The famous, absolutely beloved Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Haven't beat it yet, sadly, due to life reasons and another reason of the game. The ever so game that I love very dearly, but a couple of friends we know do not like it as much. But Fire Emblem Three Hopes. The other day I was watching a clip of something. It was about three hopes, and I was like, I think I want to run that game back now. So I've been switching off and on from Tears of the Kingdom and Three Hopes on my Nintendo Switch as of late.
It's a nice back and forth there. It's a little bit slower paced game than switching to a little bit of a faster paced game. Yeah, I have not had the pleasure of picking up Three Hopes yet. I did play the first Fire Emblem Warriors, and I've, for the longest time, been a huge fan of the Warriors kind of franchise in general, going all the way back to like PS2, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, all those. I just the Musou games are there's nothing better than just mowing down thousands of dudes. It's so good.
Chef's kiss. Mwah, mwah. It
allows you
sad.
Go ahead.
We don't. It's sad really because like I don't want to say it's sad, but I've come to find out with because of the newer Engage game coming out, and they went back to turn-based for that game, and I found out a little bit something about myself that I think I'm a warrior style player other than a turn-based guy.
Absolutely. It is a very different style of gameplay for sure. Whereas like, yeah, you're not getting the same experience if you're playing Three Hopes, then all of a sudden you jump to Engage. It is a very, very different speed. It's like being hyped up on a sugar high and then you come crashing down. And so, yeah, that is two drastically different gameplay there. Just to kind of touch on Tears of the Kingdom a little bit, because as of this recording, I completed the main storyline, and so I don't really, nothing can really like be spoiled for me right now, except for like maybe just little surprises here and there. But I'm not at the point where I feel like anything could be spoiled. So, do you have any just kind of general kind of thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom so far?
From where, because I don't. If you said we're probably at the same kind of progress of the game, because I'm not that much deep into it either. But I just absolutely love the clips that we see on Twitter of just like people being very creative with the build stuff. I think that is like the best thing they ever could have done with this new game.
I think if you were to go back in time and talk to like Legend of Zelda fans like 20 years ago, and you're just like, hey, there's a game coming, a Zelda game coming, you can like build a giant guy with like a penis that shoots fire, they would. I don't know how they would react to that, honestly. Because
bro, their brains would explode.
Some of the stuff that people have built in this game is like, I'm very proud of like when I like build some kind of like bridge or like simple thing that completes a task, and then people are literally building like fucking Iron Giant like mobile suit Gundams, and I'm just like, oh, I feel terrible about myself.
I'm absolutely bad at this game. Oh my god, I need to up.
Yeah,
my
I can never.
bit.
I don't know how they get all this stuff to work together, because I try to like get things to work together, and then like one thing has too much pressure and just breaks, and I just like, fall to myself.
I have the exact same issue.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Nintendo like released this game not expecting people to build the things that they did. I mean, they had to have known. Like they just had to have known. I mean,
they were snickering and giggling in that dev room, knowing what the people were gonna do once this game got out. They knew what they were doing.
They had to have been. They're like, wait, you're gonna give these degenerate gamers how much freedom? Are you sure that is okay for us to do? And they were just like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And Miyamoto's like, what have you done? What have you done? So, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing too. I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. Pretty much, I'm trying to clear the deck as much as I can for, as of this recording, Final Fantasy 16 is like right around the corner.
Yes.
And I've been very anxious about that coming out, because it looks fucking nuts. I don't know. It's certainly not the Final Fantasy I grew up with, but it looks like they were doing some pretty heavy pre-workout or energy drinks or something while they were making that game, because it looks absolutely nuts. So I'm very excited for that. And then I've been playing a couple other things for the show as well. I've been playing an old PS1 RPG called Suikoden, and that is, man,
I've heard of that.
Going back to PS1 RPGs it's certainly an experience, but those PS1 RPGs are very held in very high regard. So I've been anxious to go back and start checking them out, and that's what I'm doing. And we'll have episodes on some of that stuff coming much, much later. But before we get into the good stuff, Brock, where I make you just talk about yourself for an hour, is there anything else game-wise you wanted to touch on?
There's a couple things, but I think we might get into it later, and I don't want to screw up the show here.
The show is screwed up as soon as I do the intro, so you don't have to worry about that. But I think I know what you're playing at, so I think we'll get into that just a little bit later. So we'll take a quick music break here, and then we will dive into talking about some of the stuff that Brock does. So let's just dive into it. Since I've known you, and I think we met through our mutual friends, I think I met you through the Switch It Up guys and through Alejandro,
Mhm.
the Switch It Up guys, Tyler and Colby. I think that's how we kind of all met each other. I think just as podcasting friends, we just kind of start interacting on the internet and just like, oh, like we're friends now because we like the same things. So, but ever since that, I've known that you've been an aspiring voice actor. So I just kind
Mhm.
of wanted to know where did that all start for you? When did you kind of make that decision that you wanted to pursue that?
Yeah. So let me go back time travel here. So, when I share this story, I think I always like begin to tell people like when I reflect back, I kind of just have to laugh at myself because like um the person I am now and I wasn't like or do you want to go back? I don't know, senior in high school. Like I had no knowledge of like the knowledge I know now, thanks to the wonderful podcast community that you just mentioned. It's crazy how much of my knowledge with video games has changed since forever ago.
Right.
And I too, like with video games, I'm the same way with anime. Like I have not, I back then I did not dabble into anything anime wise. I was strictly putting it. I was I don't know what do we want to call it? Mm, a jock freak, a jock dickhead, I guess. Do we want to call it that? But
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't watch anything but sports or whatever. But and then I went to college and I had a friend my freshman year. He was watching a anime today we called Naruto in class, and he introduced me. And ever since that day, I hit the ground running, and I've become a super fan. And and one day, actually, our friend Alex from the A Random Gamers Corner, I think what were we doing? I'm not sure what we were doing, but we were in a voice call, and he just randomly was like, he was like, "Have you ever thought about doing like?" He was like, "Have you ever done any voice acting at all?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "No." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Oh no." He was like, "I was just asking," and I was like, "Okay." And then like I tell him to this day, I was like, "You planted it in my head that day." I was like, "Alex, that day when you said that, it was in my head." I was like, "Voice acting." I was like, "I haven't, but Alex, I think I might see what that area is all about now, though. Now that you said something." And
Alex planting the subliminal messages.
yeah, That's exactly what happened. And I think I just did like what anyone else would do. Really, is just I just researched on on the internet, just like how to get into it, how would one start, and they're just like, there's really no like steps to starting. They're just like, go get a microphone and just start talking to yourself. I was like, oh, okay. So at the time, all I had was a USB gaming headset from my PlayStation, and I simply got that. I took my laptop into pretty much it's my recording room now, but at the time it was just an extra bedroom we had. I went in that room and I opened a walk-in closet and I simply just started screaming at myself. And after I quit, I was like, that was kind of I enjoyed that a lot. And then
Right.
uh I what I reached out to this guy because I figured, I'm probably gonna have to take some type of classes. And uh, the first day I got with him, he was just like, "Just let it all out. Let me see where you're at." And I did, and of course, he didn't pull any punches. Thankfully,
Right.
he was just like, "Listen, man." He's like, "If you're serious about this, we got some work to do." I was like, "Okay." And then ever since then, it's hit the ground running, and I am where I am now.
Amazing. I may have heard of the little anime that you mentioned known as Naruto,
Mhm.
but I can't say I've ever fully watched the whole thing myself. I'm very your breadth of anime is probably much wider than mine. I'm very like basic in my animes when it comes to what I watch. So like I grew up with Dragon Ball Z. Like of course that's the gateway drug
Great.
for everybody my age, I think. And then the only things I've like gone seriously out of my way to watch is just like later stuff, the popular stuff that people recommended to me. So
Mhm.
like My Hero Academia, I'm all caught up on
Mhm.
that. I'm all caught up with like Demon Slayer. So just like the really big ones.
Good,
But
good.
I know I've heard
Mhm.
you guys talk about like a bunch of other ones that I'm just like, man, if I had the time, I would just love to watch more of these.
You know, you know. uh, there's a certain anime out there that if you have the time, you know what you should watch it. You know what that is, Eric?
What is that?
Sword Art Online. You should give that a watch. Bro.
I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. I knew this was going to come. I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago that I like heard the buzz around Sword Art Online. I think that's like when it first came out or something like that. And I was like, oh, cool. And I have a distinct memory. I think I watched like the first like 8 or 9 like episodes of it in like one day. Like I binged it and I was like, oh yeah, like this is fucking cool. And then just like I fell off and I'm like the worst person in the world when it comes to finishing shows. I'll watch like 3.5 seasons, something, and just stop watching it just because I just like just do. So I knew that was going to come up. I knew that was one, especially as a big inspiration for you as a self-proclaimed sword wielder, especially.
It's where all began. I know I had no idea what it was when it first came out, but I remember it was on Netflix at the time. And I came across
Right.
on it on Netflix, and I was hooked ever since then. And I gave myself my own little line persona nickname and everything because of that anime.
Absolutely.
Like a little weeb that I am.
I want to say that that's where I came across it too. Was on Netflix too. When everyone was talking about it, I was like, oh, it just happened to be on Netflix. Let me start watching this. So absolutely. So I wanted to ask, you kind of touched on it a little bit with your question. You said you went and like saw a voice coach. I just kind of wanted to know, how do you even start to begin that process of being in the field? Like you already said, you went out and got a voice coach. You just start by practicing in your room, but as you like progress through it and accumulate like the years of experience that you've had, how do you like, what are the next steps then? Like, what do you do to like start to like put your feelers out there and try and like land some roles and stuff?
So, the same coach told me that, because at first, when I was doing my research and stuff, every Google search I did, it was saying like, get yourself a demo reel made and whatnot. And at first, that was a big thing for me. I was like, I got to get one of these made. And I was with that same coach. Told me, he was like, you don't want to dump money into that till you get better. He was like, because if you dump the money into it and you're not good, then it's just a waste of money, because it's not going to help you book jobs in the first place. But if anyone's listening that wants to start, and I tell a couple of our friends this in our little podcast community, that if a guy like me can get to start and at least make a little headway, then anyone can do it. But you should first get classes like I did. But one thing that I learned majorly is it matters not. It matters 0% what your voice sounds like. Like that does not matter one bit. It's all about acting, the acting part. It's can you act? Can you take a script that's just like a piece of paper and make those words like engaging and put that like make some situation in your head. And it's what I was told. Voice acting is all theater of the mind. You have to be able to put yourself in some character's situation or become that character, and just be able to act it out. Because like at the end of the day, because I get in debates with people, because I feel like just an actor, like a Hollywood actor, like they have it, I don't want to say they have it easier, of course, but like they're on screen, but voice actors, they're just in this like cubed up booth. So like it's just, my point is, it's harder to get the acting part down. But if you take classes, make sure you take acting classes. Like if you have like a local theater or something in your area, I would really recommend going to something like that and just do improv with other theater people. And then for like voice tones and tones of your voice and stuff, obviously you want to like take singing classes. I'm doing that right now, actually. I'm taking classes to because I'm learning, but I still don't get it. Like you have to like you can throw your like you have like your chest voice, stomach voice, head voice, and then like you could like place your voices like where it's like your voice is like placed on the tip of your tongue or coming back from the back of your throat. And I'm learning all of that right now. But and then after that, like even if you still don't have a demo reel, if you simply just go to Twitter and just put like if you search hashtag casting calls or just like voice actor tags and stuff, there's many indie project stuff that people are always looking for to even paid stuff. I mean, to begin with, like I did, you're probably gonna have to like volunteer and not get paid and stuff. But
Right.
there's even small projects out there that will pay you. Now I'm going on a tangent. I'm not sure if I missed anything. Did I miss anything?
No, that was I literally had a one word sentence question. You expanded on it way more than I expected. So that was incredible. And that's a very interesting point that you make, that like as you're trying to take what's on a piece of paper and bring it into reality, you're right. Regular stage actors do kind of have the advantage because like, well, you're still acting on a stage. It's like, for the most part, unless you're like in the Hollywood green screen room of death where there's nothing around you, you have like things to draw on, like to enhance your imagination to make it feel like you're in that situation. Whereas like one of my favorite voice acting things I've seen is they had a clip of when Sean Schemmel, the voice of Goku, when they were doing Battle of Gods, and the gentleman who plays Beerus, his name escapes me, when they were recording those voice lines, and they were so into it inside of you. Think it's just like, oh, the voice actors in a booth and they're just screaming in the microphone. It's like, no, like they are in there like punching and like grunting and like flexing, and like you can see the veins popping out of the throat. So it's very much like you said, it's like it's all got to be in the mind. So I never even like consider that, because that was one of the things where, you know, if I even ever remotely wanted to try that, my thing is like, well, I don't have like that type of voice, right? I could never do like a Goku voice or like a All Might voice, or like some of the voices that I like, and I'd be like, oh, I'd like to do a voice like that. But you're saying it's mostly like a mental thing, and then like once you have like the mental aspect of down, then it's like you work on the voice later, correct?
Yep, exactly. And even like I've learned this immensely is like you like you, Eric, you could take your equipment in some closet and just like audition of just like your regular voice. Like don't put like any swig on it. Like just not 9 times out of 10, but you'll have a pretty good chance of getting a role. Cause like I was told in the beginning of it is like everyone, the makers of whatever game, anime, small project or whatever, they have a certain imagination of what this character sounds like, and that everyone's making something every day, so there's a very good chance that your regular talking everyday voice is the voice that they're looking for. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually super inspirational. It makes me feel much better, because yeah, you just think all these guys that have these incredible voices, and girls too. Like all these guys and girls that just have these incredible voices. You're just like, well, I could never do that. But and that's just so fascinating. I never even thought about like the singing aspect of it either, where it's like I could see how those skills would transfer over with, like you said, the different types of voices, and that's absolutely fascinating. What was my next question on the thing here? So I wanted to touch on, you brought up the demo reel, and recently I saw it on Twitter, and you shared it with all of us. You recently put out a demo reel that was like a couple minutes long, showcasing several different voices, kind of showing off your range. And I just wanted to know, what was kind of your process for putting that together, and when you were coming up with like the characters and the voices for that demo reel, like what was kind of like your thought process for that?
Yeah, for sure. I finally got one done. I was so happy when I got the final mix back. But
It
so
sounds fucking awesome, by the way. Anybody listening to this, if you don't go listen to it, I will fucking come to your house and find you. Like I threaten my listeners all the time, so go listen to it. Seriously.
So there was in the beginning there's 2 ways I could have done it. I could have the cheaper way was to make my own script, make my own type of characters and stuff, and then go pay for someone to get it all made up and get like sound effects and plus the visual stuff. But I had the money, and I pretty much told myself, I was like, go to an actual writer, get a script done, and we'll go from there. So I actually, ever since I started this, I've gotten the internet does this immaculate thing of just connecting you with people in the
Yeah.
world. And I actually knew a guy that was he's the guy who gave me the characters for this demo reel. And I went to him. I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "I'm not sure what your rates are, but I'm finally trying to get this official demo reel done. Would you be interested if just make a script for me with characters?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he was just asking me questions, and he finally got back. He got back to me, and I got this script with. And actually, a fun fact, a little insight here. There was two or three. There was either two or three more characters, quote unquote, that didn't make the cut because one, because the demo reel is all about one, of course, like I said earlier, acting, and two, just the range, and those two or three extra characters that were supposed to be in the script, we decided to cut them because they kind of, I figured that there was this one in particular. I thought it was like my voice, but I pitched it just a tad higher of a slight difference, and we kind of agreed like we could probably cut that because official demo reel is only supposed to be like a minute 20 or something like that. It's not very long.
Oh,
so
okay.
we decided to cut that, and then once I got the script made, well, he made it, but once I got back to it, I personally, I'm sure a lot of even bigger voice actors too, but like I personally, if I like get a script of the sort, I like to take like 2 days. And Eric, if you were like lived with me, you'd probably think I'm a lunatic because I walk around my house just like repeating lines to myself. Like if I'm like talking just like it's like multiple personality syndrome. Like I'm just like saying different, like I'm saying things in these voices. But I like to take like 1 or 2 days to make sure I have everything. I'm not gonna miss say a word or whatever. And then once I had that done, I reached out to another guy that was into mixing and stuff. And then I had a nice girl made me a visual reel, or the visual for the reel, excuse me. So once that was all done and I had paid everybody, and I had my visual getting done and my mixer is just waiting on me for recording. It's it was standing in my walk-in closet. There was a certain, I wonder if I could pull it up on my phone right now, but there's a certain point of the reel where like he was very vague, which that's another thing about voice acting. Like sometimes you'll you'll go to audition for something, and like they'll give you 0 to work with. It could say like 14-year-old male, high pitch, and then like that's all you could work on. And this and just to explain a little bit the process, there's this one certain character that he wrote. He was just like psychotic anti-hero, very excited, and I was like, well, throw me a bone here. I was like, God damn it. I was like, how am I? I was like, okay. I was like, I guess this is the job, so this is what I'm gonna do. So like, and I do this with audition. Like I stood there. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm psychotic. All right. I gotta get a little excited here. And I was like, okay. So what am I excited about here? And I was just like, okay. So I'm just gonna imagine like I'm fighting this fictional character that's in my head, and I'm just gonna, and he hit me really hard, and that like I'm a masochist right now. That was crazy. And so and thankfully it worked because I thought it came out great. But is there anything else other than I think that's about the process.
No, you covered it exceptionally well. And yeah,
I told you I was gonna
rant.
I told you.
No, that's okay.
I was gonna do it.
The less people hear me, the better, honestly. So that's all good for the show. But yeah, I've heard stories about that where like the casting direction is just very, like, it's just very ambiguous, and it's just like, okay, you have to put your own spin on this. One of my one of my favorite voice actors who plays Xemnas in the Kingdom Hearts series, Paul St. Peter. He's told the story at cons about how he got that role, and when he was auditioning for Disney and Square, they were just like, yeah, we wanted to sound like this other character in this cartoon. Do that. And then so he just was like, oh, okay, I'll do my best version of like that with my own twist. And then he did it, and it ended up becoming the iconic deep voice of the antagonist of Xemnas. So yeah, it's just like you said, it's really like 14-year-old boy. It's like, okay, like what, I have to put my own spin on that. But I mean, I've listened to the demo reel, and it's I gotta say, man, it's really, really impressive. So I'm going to reiterate what I said. If you don't go listen to it, like I'm gonna have serious problems with you listening, like right now. Seriously, just go and do that. So no, cool. That's an awesome sneak behind kind of the process of it, because I have no idea how these things work. I wanted to ask, is there anybody specific kind of in the voice acting industry, whether it's anime, video games, anything else like that, you kind of like looked up to or kind of looked to inspiration?
There's a lot. You named one of them, Sean, Goku, Dragon Ball, like that. If I could sit down with all these people, but I'll start with Sean. If I could sit down with Sean and just pick his brain about what his daily routine, like just like throat treatment is, because like I've searched to see if like he's had to battle like losing his voice or damaging cords or anything, and I could not find one link where he shared a story that he had to. And the amount of screaming that man has to do, especially in like the newer like Power of Tournament stuff, is absolutely crazy.
Oh yeah.
That entire cast, Vegeta, Goku, just like that entire cast is just absolutely crazy. Chris Hackney with Dimitri, I would love to sit down, pick his brain. I love his stuff.
Fantastic performance.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
They own from my favorite anime ever, Sword Art Online, Kirito, Bryce Peppenbrook. I think he was probably my first ever. Wow, I'd really like to sit down with that guy. Who else? Let me throw out some females. Shermie Lee, who voices Lucy in Fairy Tail and Asuna and Rhea from Fire Emblem. Shermie Lee, she's another exceptional talent. I'd love to sit down with. There's this. Who do you know who voices? I always forget her name. She voices Petra. Do you know what's her name? Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of anything else she would be in that you would know her from. I can't remember.
I know the person you're referencing. Yeah,
but she's Aqua in Konosuba too. But
okay.
All those people. There's even like, we could probably be here all day with me listing like already well-made voice actors that I would love to just like sit down with them and talk. But is there? I'm trying to think.
Would that be Faye Mata? Faye Mata?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. That's
what Google's telling me. So
you might be right. Yeah, that might be her. Who else? I'm trying. There was one more voice actor I would like to at least name, but the names are on the tip of my tongue. But Laura Bailey.
Oh yes.
Her husband, even too, Travis Willingham. I'd love to.
Yes.
Sit down with Liam. The entire Critical Role cast. I should probably just say Liam O'Brien, all of them. Matt Mercer.
Yes.
Oh my God, Matt Mercer is another one. Oh my God.
Man of a million voices.
For like literally, but I should probably stop now because I could probably just keep going down the line. But any of those people, I look to.
Absolutely.
And not even like, I'm trying to think if there's any. I don't know. But I think that covers all the main ones that I look up to pretty hard. I think.
I think I would agree with you. I think a conversation with Sean for his Goku routine would be fascinating because yes, that man. I don't know how he speaks sometimes because I've watched every episode of Z and Super, and it's like the one that comes to me is when he turned Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. And he's just screaming for like 5 minutes straight. Yeah. And you're just like, how? And it's just getting progressively like more manic as he does. And I'm just like, how can the human voice sustain like that type of effort? And he's been doing it now for like almost like 30 years now? Like,
yeah, a very long time.
God.
And he even sits on like con panels and recite stuff for people. I'm just like, it's just it amazes me how much like it's just clockwork for him. Well, for how long he's done it, but still just to
Right.
not even like stretch the old vocal cords or anything before he does it. They're just like, hey, can you do this one scene from that one part? He's like, yeah, sure. And he just screams into the mic on the panel. I'm just like,
Oh,
oh my God.
insane. What what a life. So do you have a point? I know you're kind of starting to get your career off the ground a little bit here, but do you have like an idea of what a dream project would be to you, or a project where you would say like you feel like, hey, like I made it, all the hard work I put in, like it's finally paying off? Do you have like I know it's hard to say like predict a future role that you may have, but do you have like a specific one that you'd like to be in? You like the video game side more, anime side more? Or?
If yeah, I like to sit back and think of like, I wonder if I'll know when the moment is when I'm just like, if I get an audition, I'm just like, wow, have I officially arrived?
Right.
Would I be able to sit down with the Bryce Pepper Brooks or Laura Bailey's or whatever? But if I could voice anything Fire Emblem Nintendo, even if it was like the
Oh
mobile
man.
Faye game or anything, I feel like I think I would probably cry if I'm being completely honest with you. But
Right.
if I could even just get like a small 20-second like town, like some town goer or something in an anime or video game or an NPC of the sorts, I feel like that I might be able to sit down but if I somehow stick with it and I finally get like some character, like what do you think of Goku? You think of Sean, or like any
Right.
of those Kingdom Heart characters that like the English dub voice actors, his face comes up.
Right.
If I could get any, that's what keeps me motivated. Actually, is like I just think to myself, I was like, there's some character being made right now that it's pretty much made for you, dude. So, because like
Right.
the more voice, we're kind of get off course here, but the toughest thing, if I had to say anything about that I've learned with this stuff, is like it's a very competitive, like very competitive place to be, like, and I've gotten
Right.
many no's, and that was the one thing a coach told me. He said they're like, you're gonna get a lot more no's than yeses, and they're like, if and that's just if you can defeat that part of it, then they're like you'll be set. But the it takes a toll sometimes when like
Right.
there's days where I'll like audition for almost 25 to 30 things that I bookmarked on Twitter, and like I'll maybe get 2 yeses back out of those 30. It's just like, oof,
Right.
maybe I'm not really cut out for this stuff, but thankfully hasn't affected me that much. And like I said with my point is like I just pretty much tell myself, it's like there's a character out there that's being made right now by somebody, and that the only person that can play this character is you, man. So you might as well just keep it going. But I
Right. I
forgot
think
where I was.
the
What was the point was? Oh,
no, I mean
dream
you
roles,
answered it.
but yeah.
I think the famous saying is that the person who has succeeded has failed more times than the regular person has even tried. So
Yeah, for sure.
I think that means that's anything that anybody succeeds in, is that you're just gonna have a lot of like no's, or a lot of rejection, or a lot of like, I've put out 100 episodes and only 4 people have listened, but like
For sure.
the more, but the more you do, the more you learn, you get better every single time. So I think that's definitely, but it definitely sounds like you need to have some thicker skin to be able to. I get heartbroken when people told me no. So that's something I definitely would have to work on. I definitely would have a hard time not taking it personally. Even a couple of the instances when I'm in business or trying to make a sale or something, and people are like, it's like, no, I'm just like, oh, they hate me. So, but you can't just, like you said, you can't just take it personal. And like eventually, like there will be that role, and you will have that role that's, wow, Brock is synonymous with like this character. Like that's who he is.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think we've covered most of the voice acting stuff and all of that stuff. My last question was if you wanted to give somebody advice who wanted to start doing it, but you kind of already answered that at the top when you were talking about some other stuff. So you gave some really great advice, and your advice was
Just go for it. Just go for it.
Right, like you said, just go in your closet and start trying it. And if you're serious about it, like just start learning how to be better. And for the record too, I wouldn't, if I was your roommate, I definitely wouldn't think you were weird, because my roommates had to deal with me in business school. I took a lot of communications classes, and I had to give business pitches like every single week. So I was just be walking around and be like, I microwave my ramen and practice my business pitch, or I'd be doing the dishes and practicing my business pitch. So I totally understand you there about getting the reps in while you're doing other stuff around the house. For sure.
I'll share a small story then. I was at
For sure.
it was in the beginning, and I feel like it's all of us. If we try a new hobby, we kind of keep it closed up at first before we announce it to everybody that we're into this sort of hobby. But when I was kind of still brand new into the voice acting stuff, which I still am kind of, but the very beginning, I was at my aunt's house, and I got up and I went to get coffee, and I was saying what I was doing, like I would grab like a cup and I'd say that, but I would say it in a very, very high pitched voice, like I was that character. And I did not know my aunt was up yet, and I did not know that she was in the dining room also drinking coffee. And she comes around the corner with like her eyebrow raised. She was like, "Who the hell are you talking to?" And like the amount of embarrassment I had, like I could not get words out quick enough. And I was just like, it's me. It's me. She's like, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm just like, "Just don't worry about it."
Just don't worry about it. I have kind of a similar experience to you. So, and that's one thing for me for podcasting that I haven't gotten past yet is I've kind of built the community and the listening and the followership without any help from like my close friends or family or anything, but like nobody outside of like my wife like really knew I was doing a podcast about video games. And so I think it was last year at the end of the year, we were sitting, we were at my parents' house. And we were having like I think it was maybe my sister's baby shower or something. And we were sitting around and just talking, and I hadn't told anybody that I was doing a podcast. And all of a sudden, like my grandma was sitting on the other side of the room, and she goes, "Eric, I didn't know that you had a podcast." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, my grandmother, who is like one of the most technologically challenged people of all, like A, knows what a podcast is, and 2, knows I have a podcast. And I was just kind of like in front of like 9 or 10 of my family members. It was like dead silent. And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I dabbled like some podcasting, recording stuff." And everyone's like, "What? Like you have a podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, I talk about like video games and stuff." And it was just like so uncomfortable. And then like a couple months later, my aunt comes back and she was like, "Yeah, Eric, I listened to a couple episodes of your podcast." She's like, "I didn't know what it was about, but it sounded pretty good." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Oh,
Fantastic.
Great. This is." I'm like, I please don't listen to the Mad Kingdom Hearts rants. I can't live that down. And then I like the next time I saw my grandma too, she's like, "I listened to your podcast." She's like, "You use some pretty bad words on there." I'm like, "Grandma, I'm sorry. Please don't judge me for things I say on the internet."
I'm very passionate.
I'm not the same person on the internet that I am in real life. It's a character. But so yeah, I definitely feel you about that. But no, Brock, thank you so much for sharing some of your insights on that. And I definitely look forward to when you land that big role, when you're synonymous with that character. And I wish you all the best in your career going forward for sure. But for now, we're going to transition into the second half of the interview right after this music break. Welcome back, and now we're getting on to the video games portion of the Video Games podcast, and of course, I'm still here with my good friend Brock. Brock, I feel like in our podcasting community, everyone kind of has like the thing that they're known for, right? I have kind of become the Kingdom Hearts guy of the community. Colby is the Final Fantasy VII guy of the community, and
I
you
it's
as go
no,
for it.
I'm sure he's listening, but like I am so happy for Colby with that new showing as of recent, man. Like I am so excited for him so
We
much.
got Summer Game Fest today as of this recording, and we got a nice, beefy look at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. 2 discs.
Yeah,
Wow,
two.
I couldn't believe when I saw that. I
Count
was
them
like,
two.
are we going backwards? I mean, Final Fantasy VII had 3 discs on the PS1, so we're just going backwards in time now. But like I said, everybody's kind of got their thing that they're known for, and as long as I've known you, as long as we talked, you have been like the Sonic guy. So I just wanted to talk about, like, this conversation was mostly spurred on because you made the comment to me a couple weeks ago. You said that Sonic fans and Kingdom Hearts fans are kind of kindred spirits in the way that from the outside looking in, like, people don't really understand our obsession, our love of our franchises. So I just kind of wanted to ask you, where did it all start with Sonic, and what's your story behind that?
And you kind of summed it up pretty well. I feel like it's getting off track, but just real quick, I feel like with like this big podcast community thing we have, like I just think of just like you guys of just like having like this nice chat about something, and like every once in a while this Brock guy will just randomly chime in something about this blue hedgehog that it's just like I laugh at myself all the time because I've been, I wish I just had like I could participate like a lot more in things, but I'm just like, oh. And then every time Sonic comes around, dude, I feel like when that first IGN video of Frontiers came out, I was doing damage control with everybody because of like
I remember that, yeah.
consensus I had. It was just so ridiculous, but
Yeah.
where it started with Sonic, I think I was on Rick's end of the bargain. I think I explained this to him as well, but forever ago, I was just a wee lad. I think I was only 8 or 9 years old, and I remember for a Christmas, mom, she tells the story perfectly. I wish she was here, but she got me a GameCube for that Christmas, and I still have
Nice.
today. Actually, it's over there collecting dust somewhere. But she bought a GameCube, and my mom is probably the most ungaming person ever. And when she bought the GameCube, she was with my grandmother, and they're like, "Well, we need to get games for it. We can't just give them this new video game console and not have it with any games." And at the time, they're like, you know how I'm guessing back in the day it was set up probably just like how it is set up now with like a GameCube section, and they're sitting there and they're like, what do we get them? And they're sitting there browsing, and to this day she's like, the only reason why she picked up this game was strictly because of the character with the 2 characters on the cover, and that game was Sonic Adventure 2 for Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. And she said the only reason why that game stung out to her because she thought I would like the way how Sonic and Shadow looked on the cover, and she was absolutely right. I think I got that, and she got me Melee, I think, whatever Smash game that was there for the GameCube at the time, and
2 good ones.
So that was my first ever dabble with Sonic was Adventure 2 for the GameCube. And I think that first ever drop into City Escape was like pretty much the hog was etched into my brain going forward. Like,
it's a core memory.
Yeah. After I after I played Adventure 2 for the first time, I think my second time ever Sonic game I played was Unleashed. And then it was Unleashed. And then the reason why Sonic gets a bad rep today, god awful Sonic 06 was my very next experience when that came out. And then there's something I still to this day don't know what it is really, but that since forever ago when I was 9, when I played Adventure 2, I was just like, this is the greatest thing that I could ever have been introduced to, and I kept with it. Like I know when I got into my early teens and stuff, like if there's anything remotely Sonic that came out, I wanted it for every birthday, every Christmas, and I just kept with it. And then I got into the first time I ever got into a different media of Sonic was Sonic X on Jetix in the early Saturday mornings, and then
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I think after that, I think the rest is history, really.
No, I agree with you. And it's same thing. It's like, why am I obsessed with the 17 games about all these Disney and Final Fantasy characters? So I feel, like you said we're kind of like kindred spirits, and I feel like we are because on the outside looking in, people don't really understand it. And that was kind of the whole impetus behind this massive Kingdom Hearts series that I'm doing on my podcast. I'm just like, no, if you listen to me talk about it, you will understand. You mentioned it kind of like when you brought up Sonic 06, but I was going to ask you, being a person that's in the fandom, having to kind of look out and see some of that hate. Why do you think Sonic gets the hate that he does?
We're going to be here till midnight, Rick.
Community.
I mean, not Rick. I'm sorry,
Dude.
Eric. We're going to be here till midnight.
I mean, Rick is in my name, so I mean, that's fine.
No, but I mean, I should probably say first off, like general senses, like we all got our likes and dislikes, I guess, and that's respectfully so. But I mean, I feel like ever since nothing's been right with the general public with Sonic since 06 came out, and I will stand, but I will die on that hill and say that to every person that I see, because like, just like I read somewhere the reason why that came out and they didn't wait till, well, they haven't came right out and said, yeah, it wasn't done, but there was like this deal that like Xbox was coming out with like the very first early 360, and they wanted like how they release game consoles in a game with a bundle. In 06 was going to be one of those bundles, and apparently Sega was like, clearly it wasn't done, and Sega and everyone was just like, well, still ship it out, it's good enough. And then just like and after 06, it was very dark times with other games coming out, and it did not help the situation whatsoever. And the general public, I feel like Sonic as a whole, and I feel like with I think Frontiers fixed it a tad bit. Like if Sonic was brought up at all, like people just had 06 and like Lost World etched in their memory, where they're just like, yeah, Sega should probably just get a new mascot or just stop making games, because like they can't, they haven't gotten it right in forever. What makes you think that they're going to fix it now? But thankfully, there's a side that I'm on, the leading army of, listen, it's going to get better. We're going to get something, and it's going to make the wrong right. And what do you have it? Sonic Frontiers fixed the wrongs and made them right. And I am absolutely thrilled with what's to come next.
We're going to touch on that, but I think that's interesting. I didn't really know the history of Sonic 06 being a launch title with the 360, but I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, up until then, that was kind of the way that you launched a console, is you had like some kind of like killer app. I mean, for the Nintendo 64, it was Mario 64, and the Xbox launched with Halo. So you had that thing to move those initial consoles. And if any of the younger kids stumble into this podcast and listening, it wasn't like it was today. So like today, a bad game can be shoved out the door and you can like salvage it over time. We're talking like Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky. Like those games have to come around. Like those launches for those games were terrible, and you can like fix them over time. The 360 started to kind of be like the era of DLC, but it wasn't to the point where like people were like patching their games for like years to fix them. It was just like, oh, here's a map pack, or here's like something for your character or whatever. So like at that time, if a game was not ready and it was released, like that's just kind of how it stayed. I'm thinking like if Sonic 06 had like released today, that would have been a game that, you know, if it was a big game for Xbox, that they would have like fixed that over time. But yeah, that didn't happen. And so to see that very clear dividing line in the history of Sonic, where it's like I know like since like the Genesis and Sonic came out swinging and helped Sega even the field against Nintendo and Mario and all the way up to '06, like he had a pretty good reputation for all of his games. And then '06 hits and it's just like, oh, like what? It's like one of those like stumbling steps that, like you said, that did severe damage to the brand for sure.
Yeah.
You touched a little bit on Sonic Frontiers, so I was following that pretty closely, and you were letting us know in the Discord too the stuff that was coming out about that for sure. So you mentioned that Sonic Frontiers kind of fixed a lot of the things that earlier Sonic games had issues with. Do you think that's kind of the formula for Sonic going forward? Do you think that they kind of build on the stuff that they did starting with Frontiers and going on, or do you think that they kind of like take a different direction from that now?
I feel like if you ask Mikey, the open world Sonic just doesn't work in his eyes. But I feel
I forgot that he was on that episode with you. I remember that episode's coming back to me now for sure.
But I feel like, and I am always like, I'm not sure if Kingdom Hearts has like this type of thing, but like us adventure series fans are just foaming at the mouth for some sort of like Adventure 3 or remake of the Adventure series or something. And I feel with how the adventure games work and stuff, I feel like they could take this new open world aspect with what they did with Frontiers, and they could do something with that. But I'm like, I joke with Mr. Tyler Sampson all the time. He's just like, Brock, there's no way that they're gonna make an Adventure 3 series, an Adventure 3 game of that series. I'm just like, hey, we don't know. All right, listen,
we don't.
With Frontier out, anything's possible. But I mean, I'm sure they even have some sort, because I'm not a freaking video game dev, but I'm sure with whatever they're making, I would hope that they stick with open world. But I mean, if they go back to anything other, I just hope it's not what I'm trying to think of a game. Like if they're going to go back to boost formula, that's fine with me, but modern boost formula. But I just hope they just put some sort of spin on it, or if you ask me, they're going to be back where they started before Frontiers was even around. But I mean, I feel with how loved, like from what I've seen, there's been a lot of good feedback with Frontiers, and I just feel like it's pretty much written on the walls at this point that they're probably going to just stick with the open world type formula stuff with like a few kinks and stuff. Because like I'll even admit Frontiers had a little bit knocks here and there, but I mean, if they fix some camera work and such, I feel like they're going to get a game that like that anti-Sonic crowd it's going to flip them. They're right there.
I think now's the best chance too, because to me at least the last couple of years, and I haven't like seen the movies or anything, but to me this is like almost a Sonic renaissance, where it's like the character is more popular than he has been in quite a long time, and is more relevant in pop culture than he has been with the success of the movies that I've heard are pretty good. And like a game like Frontiers that, you know, we have the loud anti-Sonic crowd, and I always take hate with a grain of salt, because I feel like the extreme hate voices are always going to be the loudest, right?
Yeah.
But I heard genuinely like good things about the direction of Sonic Frontiers, so I'm hoping they can like get that figured out, and it'd be cool to see them like iterate on that. And I wouldn't count out Adventure 3 or anything like that, because we're getting Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, which I never thought we would get. We're getting that game like 10 years fucking later. Yeah. So I mean, I would certainly think that's possible if they see the fans demand it, and Sonic is hot right now. I would think that they're probably that everything is. I would say that nothing is off the table in that board meeting, and I have to think it's at least been mentioned by somebody at Sega.
Oh no, I've actually read. Just real quick, you hear that, Mr. Samsel? Yeah, I just want to point that out there. But no, there's
anything is possible. Kevin Garnett.
Anything, yeah, exactly. It got me so upset, but I read there was a leak, and the leak turned out to be true, but there's like this thread on, was it Reddit? It was like that thread type websites, but when there was, what game was it? Was it Generations or was it Forces? What generate Sonic Generations or Forces? Before they're even in development, there was a leak that said Sega team was actually working on Adventures 1 and 2 remaster, and they were trying to get they were trying to get like clearances for like music and stuff. And apparently Sega USA from one of the teams were just like, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna shelf these remakes, and then we're gonna put our full efforts into whatever. I think it was Generations. They're like, we're gonna shelf these remasters, and we're gonna put all hands on deck for Generations. And when I read that, I was like, you have got to be kidding me, you guys. So till this day, if I like think on it about the adventure stuff, I'm just like, there's like some file somewhere at Sega headquarters with like remaster file name on it, and it hasn't been touched for some godly unreason. Because there's no way they deleted those files. Like, they're still somewhere sitting around in that building, just waiting to be touched. Right. And I'm still, to this day, I'm very salty about how they like. Hey, I'm gonna go on a tangent now, because like, if you like,
go for it.
Like, there's no, I won't. But like, there's freaking. I have like almost. I think it was like, I have 2 full hour episodes by myself on the Outcast podcast of me just pretty much bitching at Sega for the stuff they've done, and that's one of them.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, to me, that makes a remake of Adventure 1 and 2 makes sense to me. I mean, we're in an era now where everything is getting remade or remastered, and things that I never would have bet money to be remastered are getting like remastered. Mm-hmm. So to me, that seems just like a no-brainer for something they would do. Like, they're doing the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake now. That just got announced, and we've gotten remakes of things I've never heard of, like Live Alive, and they're doing a Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster, and just all this stuff that you're just like, there are fans of this that are certainly less popular than a Sonic Adventure remaster would be. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just like, that makes way too much sense to
and they would make so much money. It's
leaving
so
it on the
money.
shelf is stupid, because I've heard nothing. Like, I don't have experience with those games, but I in the general consensus of like Sonic games that I hear talked about, I know Adventure 1 and 2 are held very in very high regard by the community. Yeah. So I think there's have been like weirder things that have been remade. Let me close with this question then, so we can kind of wrap it up here. So let's say Sonic Team just finds you on the internet and asks you to come in and consult for the next Sonic game. Having everything that you know, the lessons from Frontiers, what are some things you want to tell them to help make the next game more successful, or to fix some of the maybe overlying issues that carry over from Frontiers?
Yeah, for sure. So with the adventure, I'm just going strictly off of like an Adventure 3 scenario, but like, so like the Adventures 1 and 2 were based off of the they're based off of the, oh, my dogs are going to make an appearance too, I guess, apparently.
Oh, but, no. Our dogs just know.
Yeah. But the Adventures 1 and 2 stuff was based off of the Sonic X animation stuff. And there's like a 3rd and 4th season that I feel like they could take the 3rd and 4th season of that storyline and make it an Adventure 3 with it, with the open world aspect. Because like it takes place, just like the terrain and stuff takes place exactly like how the Frontiers like terrain is and stuff. So I just don't, if Sega, if you're listening, take seasons 3 and 4 of the X animated series and make a, oh my goodness. Take.
I feel you, man.
Yeah, let's just come in the room and just screw everything over. It's fine. No, but
it's fine.
Just take what was I saying? Oh yeah, the animated season 3 and 4 of X and take that storyline and implement it. I cannot speak. And use Frontier's I guess I would say engine. I guess Frontier's engine. Take that storyline and make because you could split up to because with the Adventure 2, there's 3 stages. It's Sonic stage, Knuckles stage, and Tails' stage, and they have all separate missions in those seasons as well. So they could do almost the exact same stuff, and then just maybe put a little bit twist on it with the Adventure 3 stuff, and then I feel that boom, there's your brand new video game, Sonic video game at least.
I think we've got the blueprint. So, Sega, why don't you go ahead and give Brock a call, and we'll get this squared away. And I don't think that the renaissance of Sonic is stopping anytime soon. The music is successful. Frontier seems like it was pretty successful. So I'm sure we'll have plenty more to come from our Blue Hedgehog friend here. Most likely in the immediately near future here. So, but with that, I think my animals are acting up, and Brock's pets are starting to act up as well.
Mine as well.
We're going, we're going to wrap up the conversation here. So, Brock, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a long time overdue, and sharing what it is you do in the voice acting space, and just talking a little bit of sports, a little bit of Sonic with me. It was really, really awesome, and I really, really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so much for putting a little bit of time aside to do this.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This was very enjoyable. We should do it again sometime, for sure. Perhaps
we definitely will. There will be absolute more collaboration in the future. As long as my anxiety
maybe I'll have to bring you over on my side of the spectrum, and we're not really video game related, but I feel like we could probably have fun on my end of the deal as well.
Oh, I'll come talk about whatever you want. I'm definitely down for that. So, but before we go, I always give my guests the opportunity at the end of the show to shill anything they want to shill. So, do you want to just talk a little bit more about what you do on the voice acting side? I know, like you said, you mentioned the Outcast podcast, podcast you do with your friends, which, by the way, too, threatening my listeners again, go listen to that show because it's absolutely wonderful. So go check that out. But yeah, do you want to just shill a couple things before you go?
I mean, yeah, I have my own little platform, the Outcast podcast. It's not. I do dabble in some video game stuff here and there. If there's anything new Sonic wise, you can probably bet your ass that I'll end up making an episode of the sorts about that.
Absolutely.
It's mostly just as of late we very behind schedule. It's usually 3 of us. We can never find the time, and we have these certain topics, and we practically just shoot shit, and we think we're funny. Not just say we are funny. We think we're funny, and yeah. But other than that, if like my handles and stuff, if you guys already follow your fantastic host here, I'm probably somewhere in Instagram saying something upstairs. So if you ever see me on the don't be afraid to hit that follow if you want. It's automatic follow back. I can promise you that. But yeah, I think if you find this guy on Twitter, I'm for sure probably somewhere near.
If you decide to follow me, just follow everybody in the podcast circle because they're all wonderful people. But all that stuff, all of Brock's info will be in the link in the episode description, so you can find all the amazing stuff that he's working on. And as for me, like I said at the top of the show, my name is Eric. If this is your first episode, what a great first episode for you to stop by on. But you can find me if you want to interact. You can go to linktr.ee/Unlockables podcast. You can find all my links there. The show on Spotify, Apple, on all the great podcatchers. It's also my Twitter link to the my Twitter page for the show, and my personal Twitter page, as well as Instagram as well. And if you want to, if you feel so inclined, if you liked what you heard, you can go over to patreon.com/unlockables. And I have 3 tiers that you can get some extra goodies. You could subscribe at a $1, $3, or $5 tier and get a couple of just more random kind of episodes I do on there, just some stuff that I don't have time to talk about on my show. If you do that, I would be gratefully eternally appreciative of you, and no pressure there. All the fantastic stuff that you hear on the free feed is going to remain free, including my award-winning, critically acclaimed Guiding Keys Story of Kingdom Hearts series that as of this episode coming out, we just wrapped up Kingdom Hearts 2, which ended up being 5 parts.
Yeah, buddy.
Way too many parts. It's just way too many parts. It got out of control so quickly, and there's nothing I could do about it. And those episodes specifically are responsible for why now for the foreseeable future I'm only doing 2 episodes a month. So you can thank Kingdom Hearts for that. But you get online, tweet at me, message me, all that good stuff. Join the Discord. We have a great time there. And other than that, thanks for stopping by. And
give this man
as
your
I
money.
sign off. Listen, you don't have to. It's fine, but
you have
really
to. It's my turn. I'm starting to threaten your own audience.
There
so
you
much
go.
for getting listens on my end.
Yes, I appreciate it. But as I always say, guys, at the end of every episode, just always remember, it's not just the story of video games. It is the story of you. Thank you for listening.